where Chief of Police Stephen Ignacio is standing by. Good morning, Chief.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Morning,
Thank,
Jason.
thanks for jumping on. I guess we'll just start with the Nicholas Moore, Michael Castro case. Is there any new developments that you can share with us this morning, Chief, since the press conference?
No, sir, none at this time. As we stated in the press conference, we're still waiting for the extradition of Nicholas Moore back to Guam.
Are you anticipating him arriving maybe like over the weekend or early next week?
We don't know. That's he's in the custody of the U.S. Marshals until such time he arrives in Guam. So, what they do with him is unknown to us until we get notification that he's here.
All right. I guess I just wanted to go to the Virginia LaGuardia murder, Chief. And, we've had a few guests on the show and just hearing anecdotally from abuse victims about, when they call GPD and they're just concerned about the response time, many of them feeling like there's a system failure. Can we get your comment on that, Chief? And, with the domestic assault response team, we had Beauty Camacho on, she was the ex-girlfriend of this suspect, Richard Bass, and she was talking about a need to beef up the DART unit, right? I guess just your comment on GPD responding to domestic incidents, and do we need to augment the DART, which is the domestic assault response team?
Sure, Chris. I had a I had a meeting with the Criminal Investigation Division and the DART unit, which falls under CID. And what I asked them to do is I asked them to look into the cases involving the latest victim is Virginia LaGuardia. And then I also asked them, because I was aware that another victim of this suspect had come forward. And so I asked them to look at all of those cases as well. And then I'm also looking at the process and procedures on how we deal with the domestic violence victims from the time they present themselves to the patrol officer or to the investigators at DART unit, through the interactions that they have with the victim advocates, and all the way up until the time that we find a resolution to the case, whether we make an arrest or we refer the case for a prosecution. But I'm still working with my DART unit, so give me some time, please, to wrap that up so that I can have a better understanding before I make any statements about what's going on. Can the DART unit use more officers? Absolutely. The Guam Police Department in general, as a whole, can use more officers. Chris, just yesterday I had a post-commission meeting, and I had two more officers this week that quit. One is retiring; he's on terminal leave until September. And one more just resigned, and he's given us 2 weeks notice. So, I'm trying to get my recruits out, but that there's a process to that. I can't just hire them and throw them out in the field without any training. And so it's sometimes you feel like you're fighting a losing battle, but you just keep fighting. You can never give up, because this is the police department and we have to serve our community. So we continue to recruit. Glad to report that this week we started additional interviews. Like I reported, the last listing I had was 25, only 7 made it, and I need 15. So I had to get a new list from DOA. We're going through that list right now. We're conducting interviews all of this week. So, it's not like we're not trying, but, we're also losing officers. And there's not much I can do, if they want to resign, or if it's time for them to retire, then it's time for them to retire.
So, Chief, you're basically saying that you have already begun an assessment of DART and the responses to domestic violence incidents.
Yes, absolutely. And, let me just also put it out there that the domestic assault response team, the DART unit, is not only responsible for domestic violence cases, they also oversee family violence cases, but more importantly, also the criminal sexual conduct cases. And as we know, we lead the nation in domestic violence. Sexual assault cases, for certain types of age victims. So, there's a lot going on over there, and they only have 2 investigators. And yes, they can use more. I only have 2 victim advocates. Chris, I was thinking about this when I used to run the DART unit. So prior to the DART unit being called what it is now, I used to oversee Auxiliary Services Division, and that's where the victim advocates fell under. And at that time, I had at least 4 victim advocates and 1 admin assistant. There's only 2 victim advocates now. I had a domestic assault team strictly to handle domestic assaults. But because of our shortage, the unit was moved to Criminal Investigation Division. They absorbed more responsibilities, and we're just short all the way around, and we try and respond to all the cases that we can.
Man, Chief, I mean, having been in the domestic assault response team in its previous iteration, and then also having been with Highway, and then I know you also spent a lot of time with CID. Just looking at the news the last this year, Chief. I mean, we're seeing drug arrests, multiple murders, high-speed chases that are resulting in officers opening fire. I mean, crime is on the rise. Chief, would you agree with that statement?
I think we have more awareness, Chris. I haven't, since I last reported, that crime was down 15%. I haven't really looked at the numbers since then. But I think, Chris, we have more awareness because we have more platforms for us to see. I mean, there's all types of social media platforms: WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, whatever's out there, TikTok. So we have more awareness of what's going on around us. So as we see all these, there's the neighbor watch groups, right? I have so much awareness of what's going on in the neighborhoods because I see it. Machiachi, Barragata has 2 that I'm involved with, Anigua, but it's great, because it brings me, the awareness that I need so that I can send whatever they send to me. The mayors have direct contact with me. Whatever they send to me, whatever time of day, I forward that to the appropriate command so that they can go look into it. Everything from abandoned vehicles to suspicious cars, suspicious persons. And, it just increases our awareness as a community when we have all these different media platforms that we can, share information.
Chief, I wanted to switch gears a little bit to the Jerry Kitchen incident. I remember when you were down in the legislature, you had mentioned that you were reopening the case due to community concerns, and so obviously with the developments that came out in that case, things weren't exactly what they appeared to be at the onset. And I know you launched an administrative investigation. We've had the public safety acting chair, Senator Frank Blas Jr., on this show, and he had said that things weren't adding up. And having spent a lot of your time in Highway 2, pretty sure the public thinks that this is one big cover-up, because when reading the Maggies, right, you're seeing a tremendous amount of alcohol consumed, yet no sobriety tests. So I guess, Chief, how can you tell the public that it wasn't a cover-up? And if you could give us an update on the status of the administrative investigation.
Yes, so the administrative investigations are still ongoing, and as far as the public, Chris, I said that we would open up an investigation, and if we uncovered anything that we felt that needed to move along further, we would, and that's exactly what played out, Chris. I sent the Highway Patrol guys. We went and we uncovered evidence that led to this DUI complaint being filed, and so we're not here. We're not covering up anything. We're being forthright with the public. I said I looked into it. I didn't see anything in the beginning, but as time developed and time went on, we found what the evidence that we needed to determine that there was a alleged drunk driver behind the wheel.
You're right, Chief. You did say that. And that is that accurate timeline. Is first you said, there was nothing to see here, and then as it began to kind of inch along, I mean, you threw the covers off the whole thing. But in the event that there's any disciplinary action for the officer who was on the scene of that accident, would the public find out about that, or is that going to be personnel action? And
those are personnel matters. The only time the public would possibly become aware is if we administer adverse action, and the employee decides to appeal it to the Civil Service Commission.
Oh, Chief, man, I got a tip last night. I don't mean to blindside you, but there was June 5th, Janela Carrera was able to confirm that I think GPD officers and public health responded to the Dedido cockfighting dome, and a citation was issued because they were violating the gathering, social gathering requirement, over 100 people, no social distancing, all that stuff. Can you do you have any information on that, first of all?
The only thing I'm aware of is that I did get a call and we were asked to support public health. Yeah, so I'm not tracking that the Guam Police Department issued a citation. It may have been public health.
Right.
We were there just to assist them because of the large crowd that was involved.
Chief, I remember when this whole cockfighting thing came out that I think Governor Liu had said that enforcing the federal cockfighting ban would be like the lowest priority for the Guam Police Department. Is that still the case?
Absolutely. And I did reach out to our federal partners to kind of see who was going to be enforcing this cockfighting ban, and actually they said that this falls under, I believe, USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, but their law enforcement or investigative arm is out of Hawaii. They don't have a local presence. So it's one of those things that we're not sure who to refer these cases to if we decide to take a report of illegal cockfighting.
Right.
It's kind of like the issue. I just had a meeting the other day with another federal partner, and we're kind of discussing the drone issues because I don't know in the Guam Police Department who to refer these possible drone violations to, right? Because I don't know of FAA having a local or Guam law enforcement presence. They have an FAA office, but I don't know that they have an investigative arm here.
Wow, yeah, you're right. So people who operate drones, are they all supposed to be licensed through FAA, Chief, or is it only if you have a certain size or?
You know what? My basic understanding, Chris, is that they're supposed to be registered and licensed with the FAA. Glad to report that come August, the Guam Police Department will have more information because we're going to have a drone awareness training with FAA, U.S. Attorney, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, so that we understand as local law enforcement what the federal laws are. Locally, I'd have to dig it up, but I remember there was a bill that was introduced. I'm not sure if it became law, but I believe the bill was introduced to restrict drones in certain areas. I believe like the Guam Legislature, Adelup, Government House. I'm not sure if the courthouses were covered in that bill. But I don't remember if the bill became law. Right. I remember testifying at the legislature on this bill.
Right. Chief, just to go back to the cockfighting thing, so just to clarify, GPD was called to assist not because it was a cockfight, but because there were violations of the COVID-19 rules and regs put down by the governor.
Yes. So it was a social gathering and social gathering limits that were being enforced, possibly even the mask wearing. Those are the things that public health looks at when we accompany them out to these calls.
Was that the first time you guys have responded to like a cockfighting incident?
I think it may have been the second or third time. I know we received information, especially during the height of the lockdown, PCOR 2 and PCOR 1. We did receive a couple of calls that I remember we responded to the cockfight. And by the time we got there, either they dispersed or, they were within guidelines. At least the public health guidelines for mask wearing and social distancing.
Right, yeah. So again, it's not necessarily the cockfighting; it's that they're not doing the social distancing.
Right. Yeah, and the number of people,
right.
The crowd.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Chief, maybe this is more of a public health question, but does the Dome or any like group that wants to have a cockfight, they basically would have to do like any other kind of gathering and submit their COVID-19 plan and protocol?
Understanding how things work, I would believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Chief, going back to the drones, like what is the concern that GPD has with these drones?
So some of the concerns, of course, is where they're flying, the danger that they pose to the community, and taking it, Chris, a step further, the criminal acts that they may be being committed, right? Because some of these drones have very sophisticated cameras and are very far-reaching, right? So they can be used for very bad reasons, to say the least. And so, those are the things that we're trying to understand as the Guam Police Department, because there was a time where there was a heightened interest in drones. My son had me buying one for him, and we used it for all of 3 months, and now it's a $100
It's right there with the fidget spinner.
Which one? The 20 that I have?
Yeah. The trends. So, Chief, I know that when you talk about the possible criminal activity, are you kind of referencing what happened over at DOC a few years back where someone had tried to use a drone to fly in contraband?
And that's the kind of stuff, that drones are used for. I mean, I believe there was a company recently that is trying to start up, or there's a startup company going around. I believe they're trying to do drone delivery. I think we've seen all the commercials. Amazon's trying to do drone delivery. I think they're kind of like the electric vehicle. They're the technology of the near future.
Chief, is there any update you have on that whole online gambling thing?
No, sir. Still waiting for a Secret Service.
Oh, wow. What about DUI checkpoints and enforcement?
I know we've been doing a lot of speed enforcement. We have gone out and done, I believe a couple weeks ago, we did a DUI enforcement, but it was kind of hindered because of, I think it was raining that night. We're definitely not at the point yet because of the PCOR restrictions to do DUI checkpoints.
So what is it in the PCOR restrictions that prevents you guys from doing a DUI checkpoint?
You see how we stand, right? With the proximity to the driver when we're doing a DUI checkpoint, that's less than 6 feet, right? And we still do vehicle pullovers, but we try and be as safe as possible. And so plus the highway patrol, I'm still using them for all of the other COVID response. So we're still the highway patrol, the special operations division. We still do periodic checks on all of these vaccination clinics and outreach and testing sites and all that.
Right on. Okay. Oh, I want to ask you about that memo that we had discussed. So there was an internal memo that came out from Commander Chong about report writing for Special Operations Division. Can you give us any more insight on that, Chief?
Yeah. So what it is that we just want to make sure that they are police officers as well, and they do certain functions when they're called upon. And so when they apprehend somebody, it should follow that a police report is generated to detail their apprehension of a wanted person. If they're involved in, they're called in to execute a search warrant to clear a building before the detectives or the officers that are there to execute the actual warrant go in and keep the building safe, then we will want to know where they were at, what they were doing, and what their role was. And so the only way to capture that is, to write a police report. And so it's just kind of tightening up the police report writing responsibilities and making sure that we are accountable for everybody that's on the scene, and we know what they did and what their actions were.
Was this an existing policy that maybe kind of fell out of practice, Chief, or is this a new policy?
I think we've, for many, many years, even before I was chief of police, we've talked about the role of certain assisting units. And, we've talked about maybe requiring them to, submit reports. It's just kind of something that came up in discussion, went away. And then, we figured, acting police commander, and I figured, let's put it in policy and practice so that, we have a better accountability of what our officers are doing.
So, for example, like with the apprehension of John Richard Bass III up in the Jigo jungle, would there have been, or is there going to be a report written on like that one?
Sure, absolutely. And that's where things like that come into play.
I see. All right, Chief. Any thing in closing before we let you go?
No, sir. It's Friday, so happy Friday, everybody. Wow. Happy Friday, wow.
Right on. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Thanks,
All
Chris.
right, there you go, Chief of Police Steve Ignacio. Very, man, he is very accessible. I like that. I think, a lot of these agency heads. I mean, you guys see on the link, we get them on all the time. Chief Ignacio. I mean, you ask him the question, he'll answer it.
He's an old school cop too.
Dude,
I
he has
remember
been all around.
I interviewed
right?
Sergeant Paul Tapau when now Chief Ignacio, was appointed to that office, and I said, what does the rank and file of GPD have to think about, like the chief making it there? And they said they're all 100% in support of it. They said, he's a son of the South, so he's got the sensibility and the respect and everything like that. And they're like, plus, he's done, like he was saying, he's worked in traffic, he's worked in CI with the DART unit, he's worked in CID and everything like that. He's seen a lot, and he knows the ins and outs of GPD. But he has the respect and the pulse of the men and women of the department for sure.
Right. 8:44. Let's go back over here to our KUAM Facebook Live feed. Good morning, KUAM TV. It's brought to you by Pacific Points, Calvo Enterprises, ITE, and Jack in the Box. We did have some comments relative to the discussions we've been talking about this morning on the link. Joy Rivera Woodward comments in, so the Vax promotion is on a gift card, not cash. No, Joy,